Hello, my peeps. Anish Majumdar here, career coach to the fiercely ambitious. And I want to answer a question that I got today that's pretty near and dear to my heart. Here's what it is. Anish, I've been in the sales and marketing realm for a little over 15 years now, and I'm looking for a job, and I'm having a lot of trouble. I keep submitting my resume out there, and I keep getting hit with the overqualified label. I keep getting hit with questions that honestly look like they would belong for someone who has way less experience than me. So what am I doing wrong, and how do I make my work history work for me? Very common question, okay? And a problem that many, many people do face. Here's why this holds special for me. And this might shock you, all right, if you don't know me really well, this might really, really shock you, but I didn't come out of the womb a well-established career coach doing that. I believe me, I've had many, many lives. I've lived many different professional lives. Before I went into this, I was a journalist for over 10 years, freelancing for magazines. I'm a published author. I wrote a novel called The Isolation Door. I was a film and TV actor in my 20s. So I've lived all of these lives, and I haven't had this linear thing. And I got to tell you, there have been times in my career where I've been kind of jealous of people who've had more of like this kind of a shot. Because in many ways, if your career looks like this, right? Everything is linear. Everything is like moving clearly one step in front of the other. It's very, very easy to sort of share your story. It's very, very easy to sort of say, well, I'm at senior management level now. Obviously, I'm going to go director. So I'm going to be honest with you. There are times where I've struggled with making sense of my whole career and where I'm going next. And I've looked at that and said, oh, I really wish, like that would have been so much easier. I don't feel that way anymore though. All right. And if you're in that situation, I want to tell you a little bit about why you shouldn't be worried about this. And I want to give you a couple of very, very, very practical tips on addressing it in your resume and other places to keep this from being a big problem. So let me just flip it over for a sec and give you a little insight in terms of why. Why would this idea of having this extremely long work history, why would this be a problem for you? Well, one is that if you don't communicate it properly on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and how you come across in the interview, then what a lot of employers are going to see is they're going to see this resume and they're not getting the sum total, right? If there's no logic at play here, they're going to look at this and say, all right, well, I mean, this guy spent some time in pharma, then he was in the nonprofit sector, now he's doing consulting work, the positions are all over the place. Well, what's this guy's deal? Does he know what he wants? Or is he just sort of a jack of all trades, master of none, and just jumping into whatever floats his boat? That's not great for employers, right? And that's really, really, really difficult to sort of overcome when you're kind of in that mode. So that's a concern. That's a concern that employers will have. They'll look at this big work history of yours, and if there's not a logic there, they're going to say, okay, well, I don't really understand it, so they're not seeing the value. And similarly, they're going to have a concern about the fact that, okay, this guy's been jumping all over the place. So what if I do hire him and 6 months from now he gets restless, and he wants to go somewhere else, and that's it. He's done. So that's one of the problems that they see there, So here are a couple of tips, really, really quick, that you can use to address this stuff and really put the power back in your hands and really make this long, wonderful, multi-varied, multi-chaptered professional life of yours to really get somewhere, and get some value for that. One is, don't go general. All right, don't put out anything out there that is basically, here's my background, here's what I can do, all the 50 different things that I can do, give me a shot. You're not going to go anywhere because it's a very blunt instrument. You need to get super sharp and focused. And in fact, the longer of a work history you have, the more focused you should get. The shorter your resume should be. The tighter and more focused your LinkedIn profile should be. The more focused and tight your interview stories should be, because you've got to defeat this jack of all trades sort of mentality. And a great way to do that, at the top of your resume, instead of having this like general summary section that a lot of people have, like I am this and I've got all of this and I'm looking for this, skip all of that, okay? Have 3 tight bullet points that address pain points that the companies that you're targeting and the roles that you're after are going to be looking at. So, for example, what are the skills that you have that you can use tomorrow to make an impact at these companies? Not the stuff that you need to learn, not the stuff that has like this like ramp up period. What are the stuff that you can use tomorrow, right? So if I'm a CFO and I'm a master at investor relations and driving that growth or getting funding or leading a mergers and acquisitions, like if those are the things that I'm really good at, my marquee skills, those are major pain points that the companies I'm after could be looking for. So in the first couple of lines of the resume, have bullet point that highlights this, that says this major pain point you're dealing with, I can handle it. This major challenge you're dealing with, I can handle it. So on and so forth. 3 of them. Make it really crystal clear that number 1, you know precisely the kinds of roles you're after. That's a big one. And number 2, you're sending a little message here that says, hey guys, I have done my research. I know what you guys are struggling with, and I am only going to be giving you that information and those skills that you need right now to see my value. You're speaking this code, this language that really top performers and top employers are looking for and communicating at. So those 3 powerful bullet points, those pain point bullet points at the beginning, send that message right from the get-go. Here's another one, all right? And this is an advantage that only you with a long work history and some real experience can sort of provide. Number 1, you only want to highlight the roles in your history that are directly relevant to what you're after right now. In other words, let's say I am coming from 10 or 15 years in pharma and biotech. Okay, I've done a lot of business development and stuff like that. It's great. I've got a lot of accomplishments and stuff like that. But right now, I'm looking for a role in the nonprofit sector. And I've got a couple of years of experience in that. Well, the bulk of the resume's experience section is going to be based on the nonprofit stuff, right? And for each of those roles, I'm going to start with a scope statement, right? It starts with, here's the situation at the company at the beginning, here's the situation at the end, here's the bottom line change that I made happen, and after that are going to be targeted bullet points, one after the other, that are going to establish credibility. So I made this change happen, here's an accomplishment that proves it. Here's another one. Here's another one. So you're going to be doing that for all the directly relevant positions. And for everything else, you really want to be strategic about consolidating it all down into an additional experience or a prior experience section, and really sometimes making it clear that this belongs to another part of your life. What you want to focus on there is, number 1, obviously keeping it short. You don't want to distract from the relevant stuff. And number 2, even if it's short, that doesn't mean that you can't have one major marquee success for each of them, just to show that, hey guys, you know, even when I was doing something markedly different, I was getting results. And that's what really people care about, you know. I mean, people will hire amazing professionals for jobs all the time that are not, quote unquote, the perfect fit, that are not, quote unquote, like linear. Why? Because they see the fact that this person can get results. This person can deliver when it matters. And results really are the best. That's the ultimate proof. So please know that as long as you've got some results to show, as long as you've got some successes from your other professional lives, you're going to make this happen. Like it's going to work. All right. You just have to get really strategic about making sure that the old stuff or the non-relevant stuff is not pulling focus from the stuff that really needs to get highlighted right at the start. There's going to be plenty of time throughout the hiring process, by the way, to talk about ancient history. For the resume, you want it to be like a spear point that says, boom, this is what you're looking for, this is what I can deliver, and just like a beautiful trailer for a movie, you're like, it's in, it's out, and it leaves you sort of wanting more. Don't answer all the questions in the resume or feel like you have to. Answering the questions requires them picking up the phone, calling you. Right? Give and take. So that's one. And here's another one, okay? Final one I'm going to say here, big one. Get away from the idea of thinking that you have to compare or compete against people who have had this kind of like linear trajectory. You don't have to worry about those people because they are not of your tribe. Like they're not the ones you have to worry about. Like that's like if there's square pegs and circular pegs, you're one of them, they're the other. So don't worry about it, okay? Don't get into the game of having to compare against those people because it's nonsensical. You know, the journeys are so different. It's an artificial comparison. And B, it's not going to help you, okay? So you just got to shut that down. And what are some ways that you can shut that down? A big one is focusing on the value adds, the things that you, having lived all of these lives, having all this experience, can provide that someone else cannot. In other words, what about the fact that throughout your career, you've been exposed to key decision makers, power players, amazing people in the industry that you want, in other industries? You've got this deep bench of industry connections. Why not highlight that? Because that's a huge thing that by the way, any company is looking for. You know, if you can come in with a Rolodex of amazing contacts, that is a value add no matter what. So highlight that. Make it clear that, hey, guys, I've got all of these people from my life. I'm willing to tap into that and use it for new opportunities. That's something that you can highlight, right? That's something that's a value add based on your long work history. How about the fact that because you have succeeded in other different industries, you can apply what's called cross-industry insights. Big, huge breakthroughs in our lives happen when one person, let me give you a very, very nerdy example, and I know I'm just totally betraying my nerd qualifications right now, but I was reading the Steve Jobs biography a couple years ago, and he was talking about how, you know, he took a font class, right? In college, and when he was developing the first Mac, he really pushed to have those types of contextual fonts included in the operating system because he saw the beauty, he saw the potential of it. Two completely different things. I mean, you don't think that fellow developers and stuff like that were looking at him like a crazy person? Like, dude, who cares? Who cares about fonts? You know, it's a computer, right? But he saw something in a totally unrelated sphere and could apply it somewhere else. That's a huge advantage when you've lived a lot of professional lives, is that you can also say, hey, I'm not hemmed in to tunnel vision, you know? I am here out of passion. I'm here because that's what I want to do. But I've got this whole other thing, this whole other perspective and background, and I can apply those types of insights, right, left, right, to really get you to a place that you wouldn't think of and sort of leapfrog over developmental business growth challenges. So cross-industry insights, highlighting your ability to do that, is a really, really great way to make the most of a very, very diverse work history. Finally, one other one, okay? If you've lived a lot of lives, if you've had a long work history, you know, one thing that you have is an ability to ride out crises like nobody else. Because you wouldn't be here, you know, you wouldn't be watching this, and you wouldn't be hustling, and you wouldn't be looking for that next step if you weren't a survivor. If you hadn't found yourself in situations where you were like, holy crap, I don't know what's going to happen here. This ship looks like it's sinking, and you somehow found a way to make it work. You know, you found a way to turn things around and ride out that wave. And that, again, is a very important thing that you can highlight to give yourself some extra heft and credibility in the hiring process, to say, hey, I'm a survivor. You know, I've survived. I've survived 10 years ago. I've survived 15 years ago. I've survived when I was doing something totally different, and I'm going to be able to survive now. I'm going to be able to ride it out. And so even if you're in a boom, when it goes bust, I'm going to be there. When it's bust and you're looking to turn things around, I can make that happen. I'm not going to phase easily, and I'm not going to scare easily. And so that's another thing that you can highlight. Again, remember that when it comes to your job search and what you want, things are a lot more open than you might believe. It doesn't have to be bread and butter, professional. There is a space for you to be a human being. There's a space for you to be passionate. There's a space for you to really live and show and be bold with your ideas and your vision. So don't try to play and compare yourself against people who are not you. Play a one-of-one game. Play a game that says, hey guys, I am bold, I am brilliant, I know what I can give, I know what I can offer, I want this, I can win at this, I can make this something that we are all going to succeed at. And let me show you, let you into my world, diversity and all, and show you what I can do. So I hope these tips have been helpful. I hope that you can use these in a practical sense, especially in the resume. The resume is step one. That's the foundation. You can use what you do on the resume in LinkedIn, and you can use the resume as essentially a cheat sheet when you go into the interview as well, and sort of expand upon some of the stories and some of the ideas there. So I hope that has been helpful to you. I hope that has answered your question. Thank you very much for writing in. Keep sending me those questions, guys. I do love them, and I will talk to you soon. Love you guys. I'll talk to you. Bye-bye. If you like that video, I encourage you to hit subscribe to get other expert tips and strategies that will take your career further.